So my presentation is visible to you all, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So what is this phylogenetics? Okay, why we need to study this phylogenetics? What is the purpose of studying this phylogenetics particularly? Now, with the aid of sequences, it should be possible to find the genealogical ties between organism. If we want to know if I am having an organism and how this is evolutionarily connected with other species or other organisms, I want to know, I have to study the phylogenetics. So experience learns that closely related organisms have similar sequences, obviously, and more distantly related organisms, they have more dissimilar sequences. Now so we can tell that first objective of this evolutionary reconstruction is to know the evolutionary relationship between different species. If I want to study the evolutionary relationship of an organism with others, how they are evolutionarily related or distant with each other, I have to make this phylogenetic tree. Next objective is to estimate the time of divergence between two organisms since they last shared a common ancestor. Because when I talked about these evolution things, I have told that there are chances that, say, organism A was the first organism. During different environmental conditions, A have changed itself into B and C. Now when we are seeing the organism C in front of us, maybe there are vast differences between A and C organism. They have started from A, but there are differences between A and C. So though they are sharing a common ancestor, there is a divergence between this A species and C species. Now if you want to study the time of divergence between these two species, you need to study the phylogenetics. The theory and practical applications of these different models, they are not universally accepted. These are the disclaimer of these phylogenetics. Now when one data set, different software packages can give different results. Changes in the dataset can also give you different results. Therefore, it is important to have a good alignment to start with. This is the reason we focused on alignment. We have studied how the alignment occurs, what are the different parameters I should keep in mind while aligning multiple sequences, and how they align with each other, how the softwares will predict the alignment, and how they will give the alignment score on the basis of which methodology alignment scores are given. So we have talked about that. Trees based on an alignment of a gene represent the relationship between genes, and it is not necessarily the same relationship as between the whole organisms. So if trees are calculated based on different genes from organism, it is possible that these trees result in different relationship. So there are some disclaimer of this phylogenetic trees. Now I told that during this tree formation we will come across different terminologies during this tree formation. They are node, branch, topology, branch length, root, distance scale. So what are they? If you see, first is the node. See, this is the node. This is the node between species C and species D. So a node basically represents a taxonomic unit. This can be a taxon and existing species, or an ancestor, say unknown species, represents the ancestors of two or more species. So this is basically the distance between the taxonomic unit between different species. Next is the branch. So this is called the branch, and this defines the relationship between the taxa in terms of descent and ancestry. So from the branch you can say if the species A is sharing a common ancestor with species D or not. If you can see that species C and D, they are sharing a common ancestor. Okay. Next is the topology. So topology, actually this is the branching pattern. Topology gives you the idea about the branching pattern. Next is the branch length. So branch length is also the necessary one because it often represents the number of changes that have occurred in the branch. It actually tells about the evolutionary distance between its ancestor and this particular species you are working with. So branch length often give you either the number of changes that have occurred or in terms of the evolutionary distance. Next is the root. This is the common ancestor for all taxa. If you see species A, from species A you can say there are two branches. From one species E became and another branch again divided into two, from where species A and B were segregated from one branch and another branch were segregated between species C and D. So if you see particularly A, B, C, D, E, all of these species, they are sharing a common ancestor which is species A. So species A is said to be the root of this tree. And the distance scale. So distance scale is which represents the number of differences between sequences, like 0.1. If it is said 0.1, I have written there, it means 10% differences between two sequences. So if you actually check the distance scale, it will tell you that the percentage of differences between two different sequences. So these are the basic terminologies we will use during this, or when you will use program or softwares to make this phylogenetic tree, will get to know about these terms, and that all of this signifies some of the main features of this phylogenetic tree. Now there are a few possible ways by which you can draw phylogenetic tree. The trees can be unscaled branches. The tree may have unscaled branches or scaled branches. So what is unscaled branches? If you see, this is the example of unscaled branches. Means the length is not proportional to the number of changes. I have told you the branch length actually tells about the number of changes occurred in that particular branch. So when we are making an unscaled branch, see, the length is not proportional to the number of changes, right? Sometimes the number of changes are indicated on the branches with numbers. Sometimes the nodes represent the divergence event on a particular time scale. Now in case of scaled branches, if you can see, the length of the branch is proportional to the number of the changes. The distance between two species is the sum of the length of all branches connecting them. So this is the distance between two species, basically the sum of the length of all the branches connecting them. So if you see species A, here we are calculating distance between species A and species B. So basically this distance is the sum of the distance or the length of the branches. So this branch, if the length of this branch is AA and the length of this branch is BB, so the distance between species A and species B, basically AA plus BB, which I have written over here. Okay, so this is the scaled branch. So if you consider the branch length, that actually proportional to the number of changes occurred. It is also possible to draw trees with or without a root. So this is the example of unrooted trees. Okay, So I have shown about the rooted tree, how this is done. For rooted trees, the root is the common ancestor. For each species, there is a unique path that led from the root to the species. The direction of each path corresponds to evolutionary time. So if you see, this is the root of this phylogenetic tree. So species F is the root. Okay, so it actually tells us the unique path that leads from the root to the species. So every species is sharing a common ancestor. So this is the in case of the rooted tree. In case of an unrooted tree, it specifies the relationship among species and does not define the evolutionary path. It only tells about the how is the relationship between A, B, C and D, but it won't tell you that whether A, B, C, D and E is sharing or coming from a common ancestor or not. It will never tell you. So an unrooted tree specifies the relationship among species but doesn't define the evolutionary path. Now if you see, this is the unrooted tree with this is the unrooted tree. The first one is the unrooted tree with scaled branches. So from here you can say that this branch is actually proportional to the number of changes occurred for the formation of the species. But if you see, so there we are getting a various branch length during the formation of this tree. But if you consider this unrooted tree with unscaled branches, so all the branch lengths, they are equally shown here. So obviously this is irrespective of the number of the changes occurred during the species formation, right? So this is the different types of phylogenetic tree you can draw. It may be a rooted one or unrooted one. It may be may have a scaled branch or may have unscaled branches. And I guess now you know how the branch distance actually, or the branch length actually, distance is measured during this phylogenetic tree formation. Now there are several methods for this phylogenetic analysis. So there are two major groups of analysis to examine phylogenetic relationship between species. The first is the phenetic method. So in this method, and second is the cladistic method. So what is phenetic method? In the phenetic methods, trees are calculated by similarities of sequences, and you know how the similarity is calculated depending on the sequences. First you have to align those sequences, and you know the formula that I have already told you, the formula using which you can actually calculate the similarity between the aligned sequences. So this phenetic model actually where the trees are calculated by these similarities of sequences, and these are based on distance methods. The resulting tree is called a dendrogram and does not necessarily reflect evolutionary relationship. Distance methods compress all the individual differences between pairs of sequences into a just single number. And what is the cladistic method? In the cladistic method, trees are calculated by considering the various possible pathways of evolution that are based on parsimony, or you can say likelihood method. The resulting tree is called a cladogram. So cladistic methods use each alignment position as evolutionary information to build a tree. So the basic difference between this phenetic method and cladistic method is that phenetic method actually uses the distance method, whereas this cladistic method relies on likelihood or parsimony. First, second difference between this phenetic and cladistic method is that phenetic method doesn't tell you about any evolutionary relationship between the species, whereas the cladistic methods calculates all the evolutionary relationship between all the possible evolutionary, it actually calculates all the possible evolutionary pathway and calculate this evolutionary information to build up a tree. And third is the phenetic method. After when you use a phenetic method to make a phylogenetic tree, will get a dendrogram, whereas when you are forming the cladistic method to form this phylogenetic tree, you will get the cladogram. Now this phenetic method told you that that method is based on distance. Already I have written over here. So starting from an alignment, pairwise distances are calculated between DNA sequence as the sum of all base pair differences between two sequences. The most similar sequences are assumed to be closely related, obviously. So this creates a distance matrix. We have talked about distance matrix also. So this creates a distance matrix. Now all base changes can be considered equally, or a matrix of the possible replacements can be used. Now insertions, indel mutations, insertions or deletions that are given a larger weight than replacements. Insertion, deletions of multiple bases at one positions that are given less weight, obviously, than multiple independent insertion or deletions. Now this is possible to correct the multiple substitutions at a single site by this distance method. This is the first step, the alignment. And next, from the obtained distance matrix, a phylogenetic tree is calculated by the software and with the clustering algorithms. Now these cluster methods construct a tree by linking the least distant pairs of taxa, because we are depending on this distance method. So they actually construct a tree by linking the least distant pairs of taxa followed by successively more distant taxas. So there are two different algorithms actually can be used. One is UPGMA clustering, which is known as unweighted pair group method using arithmetic averages. So this is the simplest method, UPGMA, by which you can do this phenetic distance based phylogenetic tree analysis. And another is the neighbor joining. The method tries to correct the UPGMA method for its assumption that the rate of evolution is the same in all taxa, because I have told that this phenetic method doesn't depend on the evolutionary relationships, neither it actually depends on it calculate things, or it calculate irrespective of the evolutionary distance between the species. So this neighbor joining tree use the methods to correct this UPGMA method for its assumption, because it actually takes or assume that the rate of evolution is same for all the taxa. Now second is the cladistic method. If you consider, the cladistic method works on two different ways based on parsimony, and second is the maximum likelihood. Now 1 minute just. Now if you consider the cladistic methods, which is based on the parsimony, so for each position in the alignment, all the possible trees are evaluated and are given a score based on the number of evolutionary changes needed to produce the observed sequence changes. So in each step, when you are giving the first step of evolutionary tree formation or phylogenetic tree formation is the alignment. So from first step of alignment, it actually takes the account of the scores that actually gives the idea about the evolutionary number of evolutionary changes occurred to produce the observed sequence changes. And the most parsimonious tree is the one with the fewest evolutionary changes. Okay, for this is for all sequences to derive from a common ancestor. Obviously, when all the sequences are coming from a common ancestor, it means they will have less changes in their sequences, so they will be close to each other. So this is the most parsimonious tree we will get in the form of a cladogram. This is a more time consuming method than the distance method. Obviously, you are checking the similarity rather than the dissimilarity which we used in phenetic method. In case of say cladistic methods, which is based on maximum likelihood, the same thing, This method also uses each position in an alignment, evaluates all possible trees and calculate the likelihood for each tree using an explicit model for evolution. Now, say the difference between this likelihood and maximum likelihood and parsimony. Parsimony just looks for fewest evolutionary changes. It looks fewest because parsimonious trees actually tries to reduce the number of changes that occurred between species and try to find a common ancestor. But in case of maximum likelihood, it actually calculates the likelihood for each tree using the exclusive models for evolution. Now, the likelihoods for each aligned positions are then multiplied to provide a likelihood for each tree. The tree with the maximum likelihood is the most probable tree, or that may be the probable evolutionary pathway. This is the slowest method of all, but seems to give you the best result and the most information about the tree. Obviously, at least from our discussion, you understood that phonetic method is cladistic method is much better than this phonetic method, which relies on this distance. Now, this cladistic method, which again depends on either parsimony or maximum likelihood, the maximum likelihood method of cladistic method. So, this is the maximum likelihood is the best one because it will give you at each and every step of your starting from the alignment. It will actually check the score or evolutionary score between the species. It will actually check whether they are having the calculate the likelihood for each tree, and then it will give you a score, maximum likelihood score, and depending on this score you will be able to check whether which of the tree is the best one. And this is the among all these three, this cladistic method based on this maximum likelihood is the best method to study the phylogenetic tree and or analyze the evolutionary relationship between different species. So there are a few theoretical problems with these evolutionary changes between sequences. Now, one is the transition. Transition means the substitution, say from A to G, G to A, or C to T, or T to C. This is the transition. Maybe some transversion. Transversions means that G may be replaced with C, or C may be replaced with G, or there may be an interchange between A or T. And the third one is the deletion. Deletion means removal of one or more nucleotides, as well as deletion is there. Insertion is also there, means the addition of one or more nucleotides. And another is the inversion. Inversion means the rotation of 180 degree of a double-stranded DNA segment comprised of two or more base pairs. I have just written here the inversion process. So if you can see, so the 5' to 3' strand is having GTTCA. Now after the inversion, you will see that this is rotated 180 degree, means C in the parallel strand, in this anti-parallel strand, actually 3' to 5', you will see that CGTTG. This came in the lower strand. The upper strand contains again this actually inverted here, and you will see GCAAC. See, it is written over here GCAAC. So this is the step of inversion. So we have talked about transition, transversion, deletion, insertion, and inversion. So this is the methods actually that may be a bit problematic for the study of these evolutionary changes between the sequences, because if there are some such kind of changes, it will be not possible for us to align the sequences with its probable one, and when we cannot make the proper alignment method, so the phylogenetic tree may not be the one we can rely on to check the evolutionary distance between the species and all. So this is the basic things we should know before starting the phylogenetic tree formation. So okay, first let me tell you that okay, so first let me tell you what is the blast, how can you do a blast of particular sequence. Or so see, this is a particular sequence we have, okay. So and I want to know whether with which it actually showing its similarity. So let's take this sequence. Just tell me if my screen is visible to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we will go for NCBI blast. Okay, so everyone just type this NCBI blast. Now there are several different searches you will get. So if you go for blast, this is a local alignment tool, because before this is another alignment tool, because we have already learned about cluster W, right, where we can do the blast. From there also we can make a particular phylogenetic tree. But if you want to check in a different way, so this is the blast. This you can go for nucleotide blast, means if you are giving the nucleotide, you will get the nucleotide, it will actually blast the nucleotide sequence with other organisms. There are blast X, blast N, blast P for proteins, etc. So as I am using the proteins, we will go for blast. We can also have blast P. So just otherwise go for blast N. Okay, so you are giving a protein sequence and it will actually check. So this is the place where you can copy paste your sequence, or you can give your accession number, obviously in the FASTA format. And my presentation is visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is the FASTA format. You can see here is a greater than sign, and this is the name of the particular sequence from where we derived it, and this is the, you can have the idea about the one letter code of or amino acids of protein. So this is clear to you that this is a particular protein sequence starting with M and ending with an S. So just paste the sequence here. I have already copied it, so paste the sequence in its FASTA format. So I have pasted it. Next, just let it go. It will search nucleotide collections, non-redundant one. So just see the blast, what actually happens. So when you are giving the blast to occur, it will actually give you the sequences that is showing close relationship or showing sequence similarities with the sequence that you have pasted. It will take a few seconds, 7 seconds to update, and then you will get the idea about this.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Ma'am, I have one doubt, ma'am.
Yes, tell.
Ma'am, from where you have taken that sequence? In NCBI, from NCBI or in...
I have taken the sequence from another database. I will just give you a sequence. So, when you will do it yourself, you will just you will get an sequence. After sequencing your particular DNA or RNA of your organism, you will get the sequences as I have got here. Okay, and then you will just paste your sequence in the NCBI page.
Okay, ma'am.
I have retrieved it from NCBI only.
Yeah, ma'am. Once you have told about cluster W, right? So we tried in home. That time I searched a lot for this sequence, multiple element sequence. At last I found one. That's why I asked.
Okay, I will tell you. See, I will give you a project today. I will send a particular sequence to all of you. Okay, and then you have to do what? You have to search the NCBI to check its nucleotide, because I will give you a protein sequence or maybe a nucleotide sequence. You have to check it in terms of nucleotides. So I have told you that if you search is for, if you have protein sequence, you can blast is in the blast N. It will give you from protein to nucleotide sequence. So this is the you are telling that you got only one sequence, but see, if you actually blast your sequence with in this NCBI, you will get all these hits, and see, these actually showing the query coverage of 100% and the percent identity of 91.6%. means these sequences are showing high similarity with the sequence that you have used to search in the NCBI blast. It is actually giving you the idea that your sequence is showing similarity with which organism. So, and it will, this query coverage as well as this percent identity will decrease as we will go down. See, just here you can see that this this predicted sequence, this is showing 100% query coverage, but see, the percent identity has reduced 88.33%. so you have to check the sequences which is showing the highest amount of percent identity. Okay, first thing. Second thing, during this NCBI blast search, you have to make it sure that it shouldn't be predicted. Predicted means it is said by different softwares and all, it is predicted to be this kind of, say this is a hexokinase, so it is predicted to be the hexokinase, but its original function or its original property is not known to us. This is not identified one. This is predicted via only softwares that they may have this kind of function. So once you want to check the particular sequence similarity with other organisms, you have to keep in mind you should exclude these predicted sequences. Okay, you will only consider these sequences which are not predicted. That means they have already, or scientists have already worked on them. So this is the second thing. So once you have, say you have grown a particular organism in your plate or in your media, anything, you have isolated the DNA from the particular organism, and you have the DNA isolation, and now with the isolated DNA you have used the DNA for sequencing method, and you got the sequences of the DNA of your organism that you have. Now you want to know whether my organism is a new one or what is the organism. I don't know the name, so I have only the sequence. Now I want to know whether which is the species it is from, or which is the which is its say address in the evolutionary history, where my organism belongs. I want to know, but I don't know the name, as I have told you that I know only the sequence. Now my next work to check that what are different organisms or what are different sequences there present in the NCBI that is showing me the similar kind of sequence. So you will go for this blast method, and once you have pasted your particular DNA sequence here, you will get several entries that will show you similarities between your sequence with others. Now you will check that there are highest query coverage as well as obviously percent identity. More the identity percentage, more will be the percent identity. Maybe obviously if the identity is much, so maybe this sequence is related or the particular organism is related to this organism or the protein which is coming from a particular organism, right? And obviously just exclude these predicted sequences before forming a phylogenetic tree. So say you will take from here up to 90% coverage, you will take, say if you will take the percent identity up to 90%, okay. You will check all the organisms showing the similar kind of sequence alignment or similar kind of sequence with having at least 90%, because you cannot consider maybe this least can go up to this just stopped here 88.33%, maybe it can be continued up to say 50.55%. so this is not possible for you to consider all the sequences given in the blast to check for the phylogenetic or the evolutionary tree formation. So you have to stop somewhere, so you have to make a threshold, you have to choose a cutoff value from up to which you will take the candidates. So just take up to say 95%, you will take the candidates showing up to 95% similarity with your given sequence. 90% similarity percent identity with your given sequence, and you will take all the sequences which were showing the percent identity of 95% or more than 90% or more than 90%, and obviously don't forget to exclude these predicted sequences, only take those particular sequences which were already used, okay. So if you click in one of them, say this is the alignment, you will see these are the alignment between your gene of, this is the query one is the your gene of interest, and this is the subject that actually used. So from where you will get the idea of the alignment with this particular sequence with yours. And now if you want to study the phylogenetic tree, if you want to make the phylogenetic tree, you have to retrieve the sequences. The problem actually you faced, you had only one sequence and you didn't have any other sequence to align, so you have to retrieve the sequence. You just have your one, obviously. Now you have to get other sequences. From where you will get it? From this gene bank. So if you go there, you will get all the sequences here, okay. So you want to, obviously you know what is CDS, the coding sequences. So this is the sequences, this is the nucleotide sequence of these organisms. So you will get it in the FASTA format. Obviously all the things you will just get it in the FASTA format. Just this is the FASTA format of the nucleotide sequence of that particular organism or the particular protein that showed, say that showed that showed say 100% identity with the protein, okay. The protein you have already given. So just take these sequences and copy paste them in a Wattpad or just Microsoft Word or else. So just paste these FASTA format that is showing similarities or more than or 90 or more than 90% identity with your sequence of interest. So these are the candidates. So this is the way you will choose the candidates which you will use for the tree formation. So here you have to check what are the different different candidates here. You have to check which is showing 90 or more than 90% similarity. Now once you have jot down all the candidates along with your in your sequence of interest, you will make a file which contains only the FASTA format of all these sequences. Now your next work is to align those sequences using CLUSTAL-W2 software. So just write it down. Clustal W2, this is a Clustal W2 software. This is basically to align your sequences. I have already written 2 sequences here, so I will just copy paste them. In their FASTA format, obviously. So once, just wait. Okay, use this Clustal Omega software, okay, for your alignment. So if you want to align your protein, you will have to select this. If you want to align your DNA, you will, or RNA, or that you will select accordingly. So I will align the proteins here. So just paste all the sequences in this Clustal format and keep the parameters in its default position and submit your work. It will actually help you to align all these sequences. It will give you the alignment of between these 2 sequences that it's already known to you in the Clustal W. This is Clustal Omega. This is basically the between the Clustal program only. We have showed you in Clustal W, and this is Clustal Omega. So now you have the aligned sequences. Now you have to use this simple phylogeny tree formation, which is also from the EMBL EBI. So just select this alignment and paste it here. Now while pasting all these sequences, you have to keep in mind that if you do not remove these numbers, it will take or consider your insert to be the wrong one. First step. Next is you have to keep in mind that there are some these signs, the star, the colon. These were the signs that actually told you about whether these are aligned perfectly or there is a particular base change or not. It told you about the alignment process. So before making this phylogenetic tree, you have to remove all these symbols. So first you have to move these numbers, obviously, and second thing you have to do, you have to move all these special characters or symbols that were used to represent this alignment method. Now once you have done this, you will go for set up your phylogenetic options. So what will be, there are 2 different kinds of, so basically the first is the phylogeny using an alignment directly entered into the input box in a supported format. Obviously this is the format. You can format supported include Clustal. We have used the Clustal Omega method. You can just paste the FASTA or MSF multiple sequence alignment. Partially formatted or unaligned sequences are not accepted, obviously. Now next is to, after all this thing, you have to set your parameters. So there are 3 formats, there are 4 different formats basically. The default is the that will use the NEWIC or FILIP format tree file, and the NEWIC format is used to describe a phylogenetic tree as a string of text. Parentheses are used to group sequence named, and branch lengths are included using colons followed by the length, and the text string is ended by a semicolon in case of this default method. Here the particular value is used in terms of FILIP, which is a format in a plain text format containing exactly 2 sections. One is the header, which describe you the dimension of the alignment, followed by a multiple sequence alignment itself, and the FILIP format described here is strict FILIP. So next is the Clustal format, which actually use the Clustal format file in addition to this FILIP tree. Next is the distance method matrix. We have told the distance matrix used in case of the dendrogram formation using these phonetic methods. So this is the distance matrix they create. And third one is the nexus, means the nexus format file is in addition to the phylip tree. So this basically this distance matrix method of phylogenetic analysis that rely on a measure of genetic distance between the sequence being classified, and therefore they require an multiple sequence alignment as an input that we have already given. So distance is often defined as the fraction of mismatches at aligned positions with gaps either ignored or counted as mismatches. So just select default, let's select the default one. So next is the distance correction. Next term is the distance correction. This controls whether simple phylogeny attempts to correct for multiple substitution at the same site. Means this is recommended to be set on for more divergent sequences. You don't know, okay, so you have to check the divergent sequences, and has the effect of stretching branch lengths. For every divergent sequences, the distance cannot be reliably corrected, so make it just on. Now you have to exclude gaps, whether you want to on or off the exclude to exclude the gaps. So with this option, it enabled columns where any of the sequences in the input have a gap will be excluded, forcing the alignment to use only positions where information can be included from all sequences. So it will not consider the gaps which is generated during the alignment process. So just off it. Next is the clustering method. There are two different clustering methods, neighbor joining and UPGMA. I have told you about that. Neighbor joining uses the neighbor joining algorithms to construct trees from the distance matrix, and the UPGMA uses the faster UPGMA tree construction algorithm. Obviously neighbor joining clustering method is the better one, so we will use that. And next is the PIM, means percent identity matrix. So this percent identity matrix will give you the idea about the output in the percentage identity matrix. So I want to keep it on, and so once you have done it, obviously it won't be the won't get the result, because I haven't deleted all the numbers here, neither I have deleted all the special characters here. So if you actually submit your sequences in such a way, you will get will get this kind of result. So this is the cladogram. I have told that the cladistic method gives you cladogram. So this is the cladogram. So if you can see, there are, this is the real one and this is the cladogram. Okay, so this is how you can make this phylogenetic tree. Now this is your work. I will send you a sequence. I will email you a particular sequence. First you have to blast the sequence in the NCBI blast that I have showed you, and you have to find the similar sequences from these NCBI blast. You will check, or you will select only those sequences which are having say 90% or more than 90% query coverage. Okay, make it 85% or more than 85% identity. So you have to take all the candidate sequences. Now once you will take the when you will take the candidate sequences, you have to keep in mind, do not take those predicted sequences during this candidate group formation. Now once you have know how to take this FASTA format, you have to get go to the get the FASTA sequences of particular sequences from the blast. Now once you have just clustered all the fast sequences of the organisms or sequences that is showing 85% or more than 85% identity in a notepad or WordPad somewhere, next you have to go for sequence alignment using Clastal Omega. You will give the sequences there, it will, the software will give you the aligned sequences, and now from there you will use those aligned sequences to make a phylogenetic tree in the method using this simple phylogeny software, the simple phylogeny. So we'll use that and use those already aligned sequences, just paste them and use different phylogenetic tree. There are different tree you can make, there are different method you can use. So by using that you have to make the phylogenetic tree, and you will send all the phylogenetic tree as well as obviously the FASTA files or the Word or Notepad that you have used, the FASTA format, so that I just go through it and I will know that what are the sequences you have obtained from the NCBI BLAST. Okay, so I will send you, I will group you and I will send you different sequences. I will, 4 of you just attend my classes, so I will send 4 different sequences to all of you, and you will make the work and send me the 2 files. You will send me, you will send the one in the WordPad or in the Microsoft Word, where you will just jot down all the sequences that you have obtained from the NCBI BLAST using the sequence that I have sent you. The file should contain your sequence also, obviously. The first file you will send me, and the second one using all of these sequences you will make a phylogenetic tree and send me the picture of this phylogenetic tree. Okay, this is your homework. I will send you the sequences one by one.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
So just take 2 days, okay, and Wednesday I will just discuss and finish our course.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so that's all for today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good night, and if you
Thank you,
have
ma'am.
query, just email me.
Good
I will
night,
try
ma'am.
to answer.
Okay, ma'am. Sure.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.